I'm sure you would have got good points and also analyzed yourself in the situation. And don't worry, because failure is necessary to have a experienced judgment as a project manager. Let's move on to the next. Now, as a project manager, what is the main thing? It is, of course, getting things done from your team, right? So, when we say about getting things done, there are certain principles in project management, like identifying your constraints of the project, how you plan, and why the planning is needed, what to plan. There are a number of things which comes into the mind. Definitely, planning is very important. We all will agree. Planning is the important phase of your project. And the whole thing, if you plan or not plan properly, then the whole project will fail. So the first step is to plan well. So there are multiple things we'll see: why to plan, what to plan, and how to plan. Then comes the identifying dependencies of the project. So when we talk about the project, I'm sure in certain organizations they have the template wherein the project managers have to create planning, and there is certain sections called there is any dependency. I can give you an example for this dependency. What is the for example, you take your project. For example, I have a project which has to be built from the scratch. It is a software product, ERP, with the huge user base. 500 users are using it across my country, across various regions. Then what is the definitely in such a huge scale of project, there is to be dependency. For example, if I'm building a new framework in a new technology, then what are the dependencies? Definitely I need to know that the business logic, and whether if I move to the new technology, then how to scrap this old technology. And because already the users are using those technologies which is in the production in the online, so how I migrate from this, these are dependency, right? And how the business logic from the old framework, can it be reused? So those are the angles that we as a project manager we need to think, so that our life become easy. And definitely then comes, this was the software part, then comes the resource part of it, the people part of it, that how much you are dependent upon your core resources. What happens many a times in various project in various domains, we have certain experts because they have become experts in your team, because they have spent so much of time in your project. And and then of course, as a human tendency, will give them more responsibility. So it becomes a people dependent project. So it is must, as a project manager, that you transfer that knowledge. You always have a backup if it is a large project. If it is not possible, that your project budget is not that much that you can have backup for those resources, those people, then for those team members basically, so then you can have those things documented. That's how it works, because now the environment is highly competitive, and also people leave, they leave to different organizations, so they carry the knowledge with them. So it's very important to document those knowledge. And that's how it goes in large project and complex projects, and even small projects you need to have documentation. Then comes the major part of it is estimating time. I'm sure all of you are aware of estimation, but there are certain things that we need to consider while estimating. That's how the expert project management comes into the picture. That what are the dependency, and have you underestimated or overestimated the project, and adding contingencies. This is the basic, because sometimes under pressure of the client or somewhere, we are always, because we have to handle n number of things, like whether it's client pressure or team pressure, we sometimes forget all these kind of details. You will be adding contingencies, but it is important to see the practical contingency. Sometimes we overlook issues, that's how the project fail. So these are the main pointers that comes into the planning, identifying dependency, and estimating time. Why should we plan? That's the first basic question, right? Why should we plan? We could just get the requirements. If your client is very clear about the requirements, we can just start working. It's very important that we need to plan because there are good reasons. First is to understand your project better, because if you don't plan anything, even in day to day life, if you're not organized already, speaking and theoretically it looks very simple, but when it comes to the actual implementation and execution part of it, I have dealt with the bigger projects, with bigger maintenance projects, and especially in financial sectors like insurance, they always come up because it's not their fault, because the rules keep changing, or the financial, the market is so dynamic. So making those changes in the product, it's important to first of all know what is your project about as a project manager. Then only you can make those changes and argue with the client that it is going to be correct or it is not going to be correct. So that is one part of it. There are certain situation, it's always not that you're involved in that project for from the beginning. I have seen projects, software projects running for years, and certain time people, the project managers come, those who were in the initial phase, they were not in the support phase. So in such cases, to know the client better, to know the project better, it is important to plan that. Then it is definitely to work out the best way to approach things, to communicate to both your team and the client or customer exactly how the project is going to be approached. So at the end, it is about the communication. If I have seen many project managers, I think definitely where they were very good managers, they plan everything in their head, but they don't communicate to the team. And I have seen many people like that who are potential project managers, but since due to this part that they don't communicate to both client and team, they they were not able to, yeah, then it's they're not able to perform in the capacity of project manager. So the basic thing is, yes, you plan it, but if unless and until you communicate to the customer and the team, then how they will understand what you're doing? And especially in software projects where the deliverable comes after you have tested, after your team has worked it technically, coding take place, then after some time only the end product the reaches to in the hands of customer. So it's very important to plan so that you take the client also in confidence. Yes, see, we are doing something.